uncertainty and the growing economic anxiety that you must be feeling, again, not just selfishly on your own behalf and your business, but those that count on you and are supported by you. And so we're really, really grateful you took the time to come on this call. And also know that we want to make this call meaningful and impactful and not just a rhetorical exercise. We want to actually take some real guidance from you, take your insight and your thoughtfulness and your learnedness, and really develop a framework and guidelines that will be meaningful, that we hope to put out in the very, very near future. And I say very near future because I don't want to say next week, but within a week or so, we believe we'll be in a position to make public the guidelines in your sector. But one thing we also recognize, your sector is multifaceted, and we don't want to be naive and just put out something that's bland and that doesn't meet your unique criteria and your unique considerations, and also look at this from a regional perspective as we do everything, and the fact that we still are led by local county health advice and counsel. And that is a foundational framework for so much of the meaningful modifications that we've made, that we don't do it top down. We really want to be guided bottom up. And so one of the things that I'm very grateful to Priscilla and her team is also having a representative body, not just of types of operations within your industry, but also geographically, the diversity that you all represent. And so hopefully we can bring that to bear in this conversation as well, what you're seeing on the ground, what you're hearing, what you're feeling, and make this a meaningful 45 minutes to an hour. Again, thank you guys so much. And in that spirit of just moving right into this, as Priscilla teed this up, Francesca, I would love to hear from you. You have such a remarkable lens because of the scale and scope of your operation, the thousands of employees, the geographic frame, particularly in the Central Valley, of which you operate, and your leadership role in this alliance. And maybe we can just kick it off and you give us a sense of where you have been and your struggles and challenges and where you hope we can go in the next few weeks.
Absolutely. Well, first, thanks so much for having us. We really appreciate being part of this conversation and appreciate the leadership of everybody on this call. It's been challenging for every single one of us. So, I think about what we've gone through is sort of in three buckets. I think the first word I'd use is heartbreaking. Just to see obviously the deaths that have occurred. In the fitness industry, we went from a hot industry with lots of growth to overnight zero revenue. You can see by some of the entrepreneurs on the call, we've been an entrepreneurial industry. We were 100% aligned with closing the doors. It was absolutely the right thing to do. But when you go to zero revenue, you have to make tough decisions with people. And so, we had to lay off 3,127 people, and it was heartbreaking. The only word I can use is heartbreaking. Most challenging time of definitely my lifetime. But then you also know the people that are struggling to be parents at home while they try to work, the first responders. So heartbreaking goes way beyond just the fitness industry. But I think the hardest part has been hearing from our members and our teams. People often think of the gym as the treadmill and the elliptical, but it's really the community and the motivation. Yeah. And so we've done over 50,000 our senior members, and to listen to their struggle with loneliness, their struggle with not being able to move without some help has been really hard. So that's definitely a word I would use. It's been humbling, to figure out how to navigate in this environment, to see what so many communities, what my team, what I'm sure every team on this call with the leadership in California and at our state and local levels has done, to try and figure out what to do. Safety is the number one priority. And so we quickly came together as an organization, which is why we created the California Fitness Alliance, was to figure out how we work together. Now's not the time to compete with each other. It's the time to find a solution. So it's been humbling to work with so many people to pivot quickly. All of us have provided online solutions at home, tips to keep people moving, et cetera. So that's been, and as a leader trying to navigate this, it's been definitely humbling. But it's also been given us a renewed sense of purpose, I would say. Most of us join the fitness industry because we want to make people healthier. And I would say this has renewed that sense of purpose for all of us. I'll speak for the Alliance, for my team. We're one of the only industries that's really in preventative healthcare. And when I look at some of the communities so impacted by COVID-19, many of them are individuals who struggle with chronic illnesses, obesity, diabetes, high blood pressure, and that's what we do. I mean, yes, we love the Ironmen and the triathletes, et cetera, but I know my peers on this call would probably agree, the most meaningful stories are the people that you take who are, struggling with a chronic illness and able to, become healthy again. And so I think as an industry, our renewed sense of purpose is how do we work together within the industry with other partners, hospitals, insurance companies, national parks, to say, how do we get more Californians healthier? How do we avoid those chronic illnesses? So if there is, God forbid, a round 2 of this or a future other kind of illness, more people can withstand it because they're healthier. So it's been the range of, from heartbreaking to humbling to renewed sense of purpose, but I really see this industry emerging stronger than ever, in a different way, with different partners, with different lenses, and really as a collaborator. We have been known historically as a competitive industry. We are competitors. A lot of us are ex-athletes. I won't deny that. But now we're going to compete to win against, bad health. That's really what we want to do. So that's been the journey we've been on, and we're anxious to emerge again to get California moving physically, mentally, and economically.
I love it. Thanks for kicking us off in that frame and in that spirit as well. Just out of curiosity, Francesca, did you take advantage of the PPP program? Were you able to get any of that support?
No, we were not eligible. We were too big under the SBA guidelines because we were 3,000 team members. So we have unfortunately received really no relief on any front at this point in time. So.
Wow. Dario, I appreciate it. We could talk about Dario. I know that you were able to get talk about a modest, small support under the PPP program. You run a lot of group classes, a little bit different scale, but an intense frame in terms of the work you're doing. Give a sense from your perspective and, what have you been able to do any online? Was that PPP meaningful or was it just symbolic? How you doing, Dario?
Yeah, we're approaching this, my staff and I and my community and I, with gratitude. And from my staff to my community, we're extremely grateful of the support that we've received in our shift to online Zoom classes, remote coaching, one-on-one Zoom calls on an every other week basis with each of our members. So we're extremely grateful because there have been facilities within earshot and facilities that we have worked at that completely shut down almost immediately after the shutdown happened. So I'm grateful to have enough to pay the bills right now in the gym side. And as a micro gym, less than 200 members, that's directly affecting my ability to pay personal bills. And for micro gym owners like us, it's right there. There's no funding. We're in the heart of Silicon Valley, but this is not a typical Silicon Valley business. It's very grassroots, and our members have really rallied and not only supported, but done a great job of executing in our Zoom classes, at home, getting creative. And we're trying to use this as an opportunity to stay close to our mission of helping people discover their healthiest self inside and out. And inside really goes first always, but inside is especially important right now on the mindset front. So we're pulling alongside our members on these one-on-one Zoom calls and just leveling and saying, how are you? Because when this first came out, we thought it would maybe be a month. And it seemed really simple on paper as a coach to say, here are some workouts, do 40 minutes at home, no problem. But what we found out is that the impact of having your workspace be your home space, be your leisure place, be a place where we teach our kids 5th grade, kindergarten, it makes things very messy, and it's extremely hard to find stillness and peace. So we're continuing to work our mission virtually and keying in on the mindset piece by putting out things like podcasts and really just listening and finding out how and what we can do to help right now with our members. The PPP was great to receive, and with rent the way it is in the Bay Area, it definitely helps. Like, everything helps right now. Every member, every message from a member letting us know that they love what we're doing, and we've impacted them in any type of way right now. It all helps keep the momentum going for when we can hopefully reopen.
Gary, when you reopen, what's your sense in terms of total number of members you may have lost and they have to work to get back? What are you estimating? What's your sense of that?
We're probably going to be about cut in half. But I'm extremely optimistic. As a smaller company, like, the advantage is that we can shift to meet the new heightened sense of awareness around cleanliness, around spacing. So we're waiting for protocols and measures from the state, but we're also being proactive in communicating our intentions. Big things such as spacing out our floor and using painter's tape to create distancing. Big things like designating a pair of shoes that's only worn inside of our facility. And small things that you would never think of, like a community chalk bucket, is a no-go anymore. So giving people small pieces of chalk, if you choose to use it, that you keep in a small Tupperware. So we're going super granular to try to make this place as safe as possible, because the name of the game is not six-pack abs anymore. It's not the summer body. It's not the personal records on the barbell. It's first and foremost, we are a health company, and our community is really aligned in that vision, and they've been super receptive to the things I've communicated to them so far. So again, it's an attitude of gratitude towards them for that.
Awesome. I appreciate that. Zarel, you've got, you're doing the MMA, so talk about contact by definition. In the context of all this discussion around physical distancing and around concern in terms of asymptomatic spread, and how you even start to process reopening with the work that you've done and the business that you have grown. What's your thinking in terms of how you can move things back in a thoughtful, safe manner?
Yeah, there's definitely been a thought from when this all first started, back in early March, and we were hearing about it. And before we even knew that we had to close the doors, we were, making sure that everything that we had in place was, already heightened just a bit more. We are a contact gym. We do teach, jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai. We work with other people where we're literally, face to face. But because of that, the cleanliness, the hygiene is not new to us. It's something that we've already, we've had to keep in mind pre-COVID. There's things that we've already had to watch out for. We know we don't want to spread ringworm. We want to keep staff out. Like, these are things that have already forced us to create a hygiene, higher hygiene level expectations, because our members do look at that. When someone walks in through the door, they see our facility, they also want to see how clean it is because of all the contact we have. And so this was pre-COVID. Now, we do have a hygiene station, but now we're going to have, more of the equipment. We're going to have more stations. We already have the Purell stations. Well, we're going to add even more of those. So, we understand, and our members, for the most part, they the importance of the risks, for one, and the importance of making sure that we are taking care of ourselves, because if we take care of our teammates. And that's kind of how we refer to each other here, because if I'm training, I'm only going to get better because I have someone next to me that's coming in on a regular basis, and it's going to help me grow too. And so we are very much a team here. And yeah, so I would say, yes, we are a contact gym. Yes, there is that fear of when can we do this again? But I can say that we know that we can find a way to make sure that we follow the distance guidelines. You can see the bags behind me. We do have the ability to be able to continue to grow and learn jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai, and for, you know, other facilities who are doing other additional contact sports, there's that ability. So, you know, a lot of thought process, a lot of sleepless nights for sure, but we've been able to do Zoom classes, you know, without the contact. So we've been able to make it up to this point. At the same time, you know, it is Muay Thai, it is jiu-jitsu, so we're kind of waiting to move forward.
Do you think your business practice is forever changed in the context of the lessons you've learned through these Zoom classes and the online? Do you think that's now going to be a component, more of a permanent component that you'll weave in as you reopen physically?
I think long term, we've learned a lot. I'm going to be honest. I was very doubtful week one when we closed our doors, and we were talking about virtual training, and I was very hesitant because how can I punch air over and over again? And so it really was a leap of faith of, you know what, we're going to do it and we're going to be great at it. And our members really have been responding to that. So it's helped us discover something different. We shot out a bunch of instructional videos, you know, things that we might spend time on one-on-one, but we were able to really break it down and shoot out instructional videos that, you know, we will continue to use for our newer members, people that are interested, that might want to continue to work on things at home. So maybe the way that our members now do have drills and additional things they can continue to do if they're not in the building. But again, it's a contact sport. And so, you know, our gym is very highly competitive, meaning, you know, not only are we teaching jiu-jitsu, but at a certain point, some of our members might feel ready to go to a tournament, you know, well, they need to get ready for that. We have Muay Thai fighters, amateur and pro, and we have to get our work in. And so, you know, the conversation is kind of, for us, it's like we have our general members that are learning and growing. And then, you know, we have the competitive program here too. And so there's a lot of conversations about where our focus is now and if we're able to do things. Obviously in California, we won't be able to have, you know, big events like fights. So, you know, maybe fighting isn't our top priority right now, but it's going to be a big impact on us if we can't do it moving on and moving further.
I appreciate that. No, thank you. And Jocelyn, you know, a little less contact, presumably in the yoga space. No, I've seen some competitive yoga studios that scare the hell out of me. But give me a sense of how you're faring. And I know you've got a lot of folks that have worked with you and how they're doing. I think you got a little support with the PPP program. You know, give us a sense of, you know, what you've been able to adapt to, how you've kept the lights on, if you have at all, or landlord issues and online classes, the sort of whole panoply.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you and your team for your leadership and really trying to like steer the boat in the right direction for all the different industries. So thank you for hosting this and having us all here. And, you know, with People's Yoga specifically here in East Los Angeles, you know, we have been able to pivot overnight, literally, to become an online-based business with a series of online classes. And we are continuing to offer the same amount of classes that we were offering in the studio pre-COVID, and have also increased the number of instructors and staff on the team from 16 to now 20 because the admin work has increased so much. There's just so much on the back end that it takes, you know, like Zorel was mentioning, like, you know, that pivot to online, you're kind of hesitant, but you're like, you know, what other choice do we have in this moment? And then you're literally creating a new business from the ground up almost, you know? And so that's been a huge pivot. Thankfully, we were able to receive PPP, which has helped to continue to keep the staff, the different instructors, and to also pay rent although the studio, People's Yoga is a really, really small grassroots studio. It's about 1,000 square feet. And so, you know, as I was talking to Leah and Lauren, who are the owners of People's Yoga, we just don't see an immediate opening of that space. Once you space people out in 1,000 square feet, I mean, that doesn't really leave enough room for people. So the studio is currently being used as a set for instructors who do come in and film themselves, you know, giving a class via Zoom. And we've seen that, you know, we've had a small drop in memberships, about 15 or so members who have dropped, but we've also, it's kind of balanced out because we've also had a few people who are taking classes, whether it's just like a quote unquote walk-in, who are from New York or, you know, Portland or different areas of the world and the country, who had heard of People's Yoga, but obviously were never able to come in person. And so it's kind of opened the door to like what the possibilities are. But then in addition to that, because we're now focusing more on this like virtual concept for the studio, we also have a partnership with a big organization that's state funded, city funded here in Los Angeles. And they are wanting to record, you know, classes from these instructors, from these independent contractors, and, you know, until they develop a little bit of a library. And then I think they may be essentially thinking about, you know, reusing those videos and not hiring instructors as often as they would, you know, on a weekly basis prior to COVID. So that is also an issue that we're seeing on this whole like virtual end of like, what do royalties look like? This video content, like if it's being recorded, who owns that? You know, like who's the owner of like that, the copyright for that? So that's like a whole other can of worms that's starting to open up for us. And that contract that hasn't been settled yet is a $20,000 annual contract, $20,000. And so, you know, that's pretty significant for a small business like People's Yoga. And so that's definitely something where we need a little bit of support navigating, like, what does that look like now for ownership rights of video content that's being created, you know, and how to settle those types of contracts. And, you know, other things that we've also considered that I talked to a little bit with your team yesterday was, you know, if we can't use People's Yoga, the current space, to reopen in a way that feels safe and comfortable for everyone, especially in a yoga space where we're encouraging people to breathe more intentionally, to breathe really heavy, and you're just in a confined space. So, you know, I wonder if there may be a possibility to have some sort of a joint use agreement or partnership with Parks and Rec or schools that have green space, where, you know, we could have a designated area that's maybe sectioned off, and there's amplified sound and people can adequately space themselves out on yoga mats, and we can amplify that sound of the instructor so that people can hear without us having to strain our voices now, right? And so just kind of thinking about what that will look like so that we can kind of get through the summer months and as things feel even safer.
I appreciate all of that. Interesting, fascinating as well. Just the whole issue of, I love this idea of a drop-in on Zoom, but potentially a market from around the world, but also the virtual component. And you're right, that's a whole other set of challenges and considerations. And it just reinforces, as you guys have adapted to this new reality, just listening to all of you, figuring out ways to make it and opening up space of opportunities that you may not have presented themselves prior. But with that, opportunities also the challenges that you state, and I appreciate that insight. Adam, I appreciate you. I purposely made you last because every damn person in my office, they love your place, and they are more desperate perhaps than even your family members are to get you back and reopened. And I know you've and starts, and Adam, I appreciate you just sticking in there and some of the work you try to do on personal fitness, not just the group classes. But tell us a little bit about your journey and maybe give me your perspective, not just my staff's perspective, on how fabulous your operation is here in Sacramento.
Well, I really appreciate those kind words. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for having me on this call and hosting this call. I think it's it's a wonderful opportunity for us all to share what we're going through. So we have 46 employees at Fitness Rangers. We did receive the PPP, and we've kept them all on. We'll be able to keep them on through June 5th. So we're in a pretty difficult position.
Right.
Come June 5th. We are currently hosting outdoor classes in parks of 10 or less people with 10 plus feet of space in between each person. So
just on that, sorry to interject because it's so relevant to where Jocelyn was. Is that something you worked out with the city or the county directly? And
it is.
Did it require you a permit, or what was the process to getting that support?
So the county was wonderful. They said there's currently no permitting needed, and just go to the parks and you guys are all good to go. About 15 years ago when I started my boot camps, we did need permits, and it was a lot more stringent than it is now to exercise outside. Our gym is 10,000 square feet, and we have recently built very stringent protocols on how we can reopen safely and provide not only a clean, safe environment for our members, but also that outlet that they desperately need. I've received tons of feedback on how devastated the majority of our community is, as well as I am devastated financially, emotionally, mentally, and as is my family, my 2 small children. It's been extremely challenging. However, we want to provide a space that is safe and that is 100%. We want the government's backing 100%. When the county of Sacramento let us open last week for 3 days, it was the best thing in the world. The folks that did come in those 3 days were absolutely thrilled. They felt safe. The equipment was sanitary. We went to extreme measures that we want to continue to do when we are allowed to reopen, Governor. In fact, I would like to invite you down to see these measures. I want to give you a tour and show you exactly what we're doing. I think you'll be very impressed. And I truly feel that we can operate a successful business with these measures implemented, not just for the near future, but for as long as we have to. We're desperate. We want to get back into the gym. We're doing everything we can to keep our members engaged. We've had a tremendous community. Everyone has been really supportive, but we're at a point where I'm going to have to lay everyone off. I may have to close my doors permanently if we can't reopen soon. So we really need your support.
I appreciate it. And with that, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, and please don't answer if you choose, if you wish not to. What happened after 3 days? I mean, so they let you open at the county level, and then what occurred? What happened?
So the county let us open a handful of small studios in Sacramento. And I was in the middle of a meeting with my general manager and my head trainer, and I received on Thursday, and I received an email from the county that said, unfortunately, we have to rescind your opportunity to open. You must shut down immediately. So that was, a bit of a blow, but we're rolling with it. We've done a lot more classes outdoors. We're starting to do parking lot workouts. We're keeping our members engaged. We've provided a ton of free workouts online. We're really doing everything we can to stay positive. And I know we will get through this, as will, the rest of the industry. It's just going to take a little bit of work and creativity.
No, I appreciate your spirit, man. Thank you. And I look, you talk about your kids and things and dreams and business. It's not dollars and cents. It's something much bigger, deeper. And so I appreciate that. Hey, Francesca, you're looking, you got 3,000 employees, which is just jaw-dropping. And what are you hearing from the county? I mean, obviously, that's Adam's example of sort of a fit and start where the county says go for it, and then all of a sudden they pull back. With so many of the regional variances that we have out here, we have 47 of our 58 counties operating a little bit differently on the basis of local conditions and collaborative engagement with the county health directors as well as the local elected officials. But what's your sense, particularly in the Central Valley, where you're operating? What are you hearing? What anxieties do you have? What sort of sense of clarity are you looking for in the short term where the state can be helpful?
So we have worked really closely at the county and even mayor level, both as InShape, and then we started this California Fitness Alliance, a few of us, and hopefully my peers on the call will join, as a way to give a united voice to fitness to help work. We're in 18 counties. That's a lot of people to think about and navigate. And so our experience so far has been, we created some a set of standards. We sent them to you, using input from individual studios all the way up to really big clubs like some of ours. So it was really trying to be as inclusive as possible. And we have, all of us in the Alliance have sent those to all of our county board of supervisors, public health officers, and mayors. And they have been incredibly appreciative. Honestly, the feedback we've gotten in the last few weeks is, one, they are, as many of you stated when we opened, really worried about the health of the community, mental, physical health, needing to get people moving. They feel strongly, as we do, that we have to go when the state says it's ready, because we don't want to end up with rogue players. So all of them are saying we are ready. They love the fact that we've given them guidelines to start with. They will obviously provide their expertise, but they really appreciated having something to start with. And they're anxious for us to open. I've participated in a variety of focus groups very similar to this, or roundtables, but they want to make sure that they're in alignment with the direction of the state, as we all do. And so I think where you and your team can be the most helpful is, similar to other categories, work with us on guidelines, issue those, and then we will work at the county and the mayoral level as well, to adapt locally if we need to. But they're ready. In a lot of our counties, look, we're in the Central Valley. We are a long-standing fitness destination. So our mayors and our county board of supervisors are our members. And while, Tom, I wish everybody could run those stairs like you do, we all struggle to be as motivated every morning. Look, I struggle, and I'm in the fitness industry. And I loved Dario's point on, it's hard for people right now to find the space. And then everyone's like, go outside. And it's like, oh, it's 100 degrees outside. That's probably not the best place to start doing burpees, And so people really, they miss their community. We have acted globally. The first thing we did was reach out to a CEO from a health club in China who is ahead of us. What did they learn? How did they reopen safely? We just talked to Germany this week. We've been talking to the states that's open to try and say, help us not make the mistakes you did, help us learn for what's working. So I think the standards we've worked with, that we presented, are provided experience from people actually living it, as well as guidelines from the CDC and Johns Hopkins. I think we feel really good that, given everything we know now, we can open safely, where members and team members will feel safe. And I think the pivoting you've heard is, we will all, if we learn more, we'll quickly move on it. So the counties are ready. They're waiting for some guidance from the state.
And Francesca, just out of curiosity, in terms of your team members, that's obviously for you, particularly in terms of the scale and scope. You don't operate unless you have outstanding talent operating each of these units. What is their biggest anxiety? It's coming back to a safe working environment. Is it a PPE issue? Do they want protective gear, or just deep sanitation? What's the one thing that the employees are looking for mostly?
It's interesting. So we kept a general manager for every club, because at the end of the day, that's the leader in the club. And in Yuba City or in Turlock, general manager, they have to own the standards in that club, and they have been part of that journey. I think people just want to come back. They're ready. They are ready. We just did a survey to our team members, checking in to say, you feel safe? Are you ready now? Are you ready later? Of the respondents, we've got 95% of people that are like, I'm ready to come back. People also may not realize about the fitness industry is, our lives have gotten a lot more complicated with kids at home and school and spouses laid off. And in fitness, we provided some more flexibility of our instructors or team members, where there is flexibility in the day. So you can come, and I'll use Adam, you could be a coach in the morning teaching a few boot camps, and then go home and homeschool your 7-year-old in the afternoon. And we're one of the industries that provides I think for women in leadership and men right now, a way to get back to work, take care of their family, but also operate in what I think will be a challenging environment for a while. So our team understands that. They really appreciate it. And so we've been, people are really excited about the standards. We're training everybody right now, the current employees, and they're like, this is great. We had a meeting last night and they said, I feel prepared that someone comes in our door and asks a question and is worried. I have an answer and I feel really good about it. So I give the industry credit. I mean, we've leaned on all of our partners as well as ourselves to help develop those. So I think people are just ready to reopen. We need to get back to work.
I love it. And Daria, are you feeling the same? I mean, the employees that been able to hold on, or I mean, it's, you're able to get folks back. I mean, are they moving on? Are you worried about keeping some of your key staff you may have lost at this moment?
I wouldn't say I'm worried about losing my staff. No, I'm extremely grateful for their support and understanding at these times. They are 1099 contractors, so quite frankly, they don't have any real loyalty to the brand, to Origin, but they've demonstrated extreme loyalty, going above and beyond, understanding that payroll is going to be cut more than half right now, and still taking what I am able to give them and executing it and sticking to our values and our mission. And that's really been the challenge right now, is we talk a lot about adversity, facing adversity, doing difficult things as coaches. And we've really taken this as a team as an opportunity to, all right, let's walk this walk now. And let's take this challenge head on and control what's within our control right now. And right now that's Zoom and the touch points that we have through our app online. And we just got to do the best that we can there. So I wouldn't say that I'm in fear of losing my team, but I really feel for them, because one of my main missions is, when you are coming up in the fitness game, you're working here and there and 1099 here and there and there, and there's really no home, and there's nowhere where, for some people, anyone is looking out for your personal and professional development. And that's a vision that I have for anybody that I employ to any measure, full-time, part-time, 2 classes, 10 classes. I want to make their experience as a fitness professional the best possible. And usually I'm able to do that, and I have the tools to do that. But right now we're finding other ways, and just figuring out, what do we have right now? We have time. So let's build a foundation on how we teach different movements and mindset techniques. So every week we get on a call, and it's called Coach's Corner. And it's a really cool open forum for my staff and I to just jam and create processes that are eventually going to help people when they get back. And then also for me to touch base with them and try to give them tools to be able to help people, whether it's at Origin or another place they coach, move them there too.
Nice. I appreciate it. And Zarel, just how many folks did you employ before this pandemic, before COVID?
Our coaches were also 1099, and with our kids program, adult program, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, I would say 12 of us did, it could be 1 or 2 classes a week, or it could be, head of a whole program. So yeah, 12.
And do you see everybody coming back? I mean, or is it not a light switch that turns on? I mean, it's going to take some time. What's your sense?
I mean, that's kind of tough to say because, again, we're all kind of living our own personal, we're going through our own personal things right now too. Like to be honest, have to think about who's going to take care of my daughter if I have to come back and open the doors. But that also means that I have other, a staff position available so that someone else can be here, or my boss is also going to be here. So we're going to be taking turns and making sure that if I'm here, he can be at home with his family and vice versa. So these things are all manageable, but we all have our very unique situations going on. We have some coaches that are students, so they are out of school and, they live with their parents. We have other coaches that don't, and they have to make a living, and they're struggling a little bit more. So we do have a wide range. I think that the intent is that, yes, they will come back, right? Like, we've built this community, just like Dario was saying, like, we built a community, we are a family. We have been talking to each other a lot. I've had to depend a lot on like I said, my teammates, my coaches, my boss. Like, I probably 6 weeks ago was just probably in the darkest, lowest, a little depressed here, and people helped me get out of it. So we're all here for each other. I have high hopes that we can come back and, continue moving forward. And, but, like I said, we've all been talking, we've all been helping each other out. We've all have still been there for each other in one way or another.
I love that. And Jocelyn, just that sense of community, which is so foundational. Do you feel you lose a little bit of that online and these Zoom classes, or are you able to create community on Zoom?
Absolutely. And sorry for the construction noise outside, just in case you hear any pounding. Yeah, I think that we've absolutely lost a little bit of that sense of community. When you go into a studio setting, you get to greet people in a different way. Sometimes there's like hugging, how are you been? How's your daughter? And now you're in this Zoom class where, some people just show up the minute the class starts, and, some people have their video off. So you can't even see them, but, they're watching. You can't see the postures that they're holding in this yoga practice, but you assume that they're trying their best. And so, yeah, it definitely does hurt that sense of community. And we've been talking about what that looks like, if we should host some just gatherings that are not necessarily like a class, but just kind of like, how's everybody doing? Just to kind of keep that energy going, because people's yoga is so different than any yoga studio that I've ever been to. I've been practicing yoga for the last, over a decade. And I had been to, yoga studios in downtown Los Angeles on the west side, and frankly, anywhere where I can get a Groupon that I could afford, right? And then I finally walked into people's yoga, and I had this like sigh of like relief that felt like, this is my community. They're all these bodies in here are like people of color who have endured a great deal of trauma, generational trauma. We live in a low-income community and have oftentimes felt that pressure of oppression that has been, somewhat normalized to a certain extent. And this place just really feels like we're all here to heal together. We've been through some stuff, but it's finally the sense of like, growing up in a Latino community, there's a sense of like, we call it like the hater attitude, but people's yoga has like really, really like brought us all back together. And so I think that it's a really, really important space, not just physically for a lot of people, mentally, spiritually, to really continue to evolve the community to feel this sense of family. And, unfortunately, the other, kind of negative component of going digital is that there is this digital divide of, our elders who were attending regularly. And although we've, tried calling them to help them figure out how to get online via Zoom, it just isn't as easy for them. And so that's been an issue, and that we've lost that part of our community that we feel is really important to keeping a hold of those traditions.
No, I appreciate it. And thank you for reminding us of that obvious and foundational point of those disparities in terms of access, just knowledge, access, familiarity, let alone just the capacity to afford these tools of technology. I appreciate that. Adam, before I turn it over to Tom and Ann, Adam, just if we were able to turn the lights back on and you were able to get the county, order back, you able to get all your folks back to work quickly? Do you think you have enough? I mean, your membership, or is it going to take you think it's going to take 3, 4, 5, 6 months? What's your sense to bring back where you were pre the shutdown?
We're not going to get back to where we were for at least a year. However, I can bring back my team if we can start soon. We can't wait. I cannot afford to wait much longer than a week at this stage. We are literally gasping for air. We have the protocols. We are safe. I know that a lot of my friends in this community that have helped me develop these protocols are right in the same position that I'm in. We need your help. We need to do this very soon. I guarantee people will be safe, they will feel safe, and we will make sure that they are safe. We will do everything in our power to make sure that in this fitness atmosphere, this is health and wellness we are selling.
Right.
We want people to continue to be healthy and well. We're beating diabetes, we're beating high blood pressure, we're beating, obesity, and people not being able to do that is causing even more issues.
Yeah.
That mental outlet, our facility, if I can have 10 people in a 10,000 square foot facility, I will do it tomorrow. And they will be much safer in our gym than in any other business that has already been allowed to open.
No, I hear you. And we, Dr. Angel, we talk all the time. We're not just battling COVID-19. We've got to battle the social determinants of health. We've got to battle all these other chronic diseases. We got to focus on brain health and wellness and talk about spirituality. Many of you on this call, all of the above is so important. And I deeply appreciate that. That has to be part of this conversation as well. It's not just suppressing a novel virus. It's also addressing all of these foundational health issues, which you do every single day. So I appreciate all of you. And I know Tom does, despite the fact that he, in a very lonely way, just runs stairs by himself every morning. But Tom, maybe you could chime in and any questions you got.
Let me say this. I know that you guys all run businesses, and I know that that's really important to you, but I also will say that listening to you, what you're doing is running so much more than a business for people. I mean, you're talking about community and health, but I think what I think what you are letting people do in so many different physical ways, which is actually really fun to hear, whether it's yoga or judo or a normal gym workout, people really do find their spiritual core doing those physical things that you let them do. And so I don't really have a question. I just want to say, I really appreciate what you're providing for people in a very deep way. I know it's a business, but I can tell you that for your customers and the people who you're teaching and leading, it's much more than, just showing up for an hour to get a sweat. It's really a deeper thing than that. It does have a huge to do with spirituality and community and health. And I want to end just by saying, Francesca said, another day, another race, which was the story of this guy didn't want to run on Sunday because it was the Lord's Day. So he ran another race and won. And what I see you guys doing, which I find so perfect, in every one of you in your different ways are letting people adapt their routines to this new reality. And it is a reality. But it's also like all sports. You can get hurt, but you have to figure out what to do about that. Maybe you can't do that yoga pose. Maybe you can't be in a judo test or tournament, but you adapt to do what you guys are allowing it to do. Maybe in a different way, maybe it's online, maybe it's outside, but I really do salute you guys for what you're doing in a business sense in terms of employing people. And I know that's got to be on the top of your minds, but just to remind you how much you're bringing to your customers and the people you're teaching. It's important to me personally, and I think it's very important to the people that you're working with.
Yeah, well said, Tom. I appreciate that. And Ann, do you have any closing thoughts and maybe just a little more sense of direction of where we're going with the guidelines and give people a sense of what our next steps are?
Yeah, no, I really want to say thank you. I mean, the emotions are so real in your voices and in your faces of what you're experiencing. And I think, all of us who work in this type of intense job, a lot of us exercise in order to protect our own mental and physical health. I know I've been running every morning, and it really is, saving me. And I know that so many people are wanting to get back to the gym and get back to the communities that they have through their gyms. So I just want to say thank you with really great gratitude. And I think Dr. Angel, we talk all the time about both preventative health and mental health. So we know that this is part of the solution for our community health, is to be able to get you all back up and running. We have draft guidance right now that is working its way through our California Department of Public Health and our various sectors to make sure that we get this right. We expect it to get out very soon. That will then allow the counties that have been able to move forward with what we call their self-attestation, which is to say that they've had shown stabilization in their communities and preparedness in their communities. They will then be able to use those guidance to be able to move forward. We're very hopeful that will happen within a week, and I think will be helpful for many of you. We know more counties are signing on, so we feel that this will be moving forward. I'd like to just ask Dr. Angel to say any more she might want to say on this, but we're very hopeful this will happen soon, and very grateful for all that you do to protect the health of our communities.
Yeah, I just want to also echo appreciation. This is essential, absolutely essential, not only to all of us moving out of this period of at home in a way that's healthy, but absolutely preparing for a pandemic is not just about preparing to control infections. It's about controlling chronic diseases. It's about preventing chronic diseases. It's about mental health and well-being. You all are an essential part of that community that builds habit into our communities and creates access to that. And so this is an essential and really, really important part of moving forward. Thanks.
That's good. And so thank you guys. And so I hope you get a sense we're getting closer, and you guys, thank you all. You've all been, everything you guys have sent us, some of you have sent us a lot more than others. We've compiled and we've digested, and we are starting to organize in this draft form. Obviously, based on this call, we'll collaborate or calibrate even more. But I'm just grateful to all of you, particularly the diversity of the experiences you provide your clients and customers. And thank you for feeding that into this brain trust and to Dr. Angel's work as she, at the state level, puts together these guidelines in council and in collaboration with local health directors up and down the state. And so we, trust me, cannot, we look forward to getting these out. It can't happen soon enough. And I hear that loudly and clearly, but also I just want to express loudly and clearly our gratitude to you guys for participating today. And thank you for everything you've done to hold strong through this difficult time, and really look forward to you guys thriving over the next few months when we start to turn the corner. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Governor.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for holding this.
Great to meet you guys.
And great to meet you guys.
We're going to get through it. Hang in there. Thank you.
Best of luck, everybody.